This is my final presentation on mental health days in the nursing field. An overview of the problem. So mental health affects 18% of nurses. This could be through anxiety, depression, and also not listed on the slide, but PTSD. Poor mental health of nurses can affect the accuracy of healthcare. If you have a nurse who has not slept in days, they may not accurately perform what they need to on the patient, which could affect the patient's healthcare. Nursing burnout is also a big problem of mental health. It can lead to staff shortages and also worsened mental health. If a nurse doesn't like their job, their mental health is going to go downhill and it will eventually lead to nursing burnout, which will lead them to quit, and then there's staff shortages. Here's a list of solutions that have already been tried. In medical school, nurses were taught to put patient care first, self-care next. I personally believe that we need to reverse this. No matter what career field you go in, you always want to make sure that you emphasize that self-care comes first. Self-care is the only solution tried, but it can't be enforced. You cannot force someone to work on their mental health if they don't want to. Self-care includes sleeping, eating healthy foods, and exercising. In the picture to the right, you can see an example of just some healthy foods that a nurse might eat. My proposition: allow nurses one mental health day a month. This will not only decrease nursing burnout, it will decrease staff shortages, but it will also increase job performance. There are 5 basic steps to this proposition and solution. Step 1, how many people are needed per shift? So as the hospital management team, they need to talk to the people who do scheduling and figure out how many people do we have in the ER during this shift, how many people do we have in the ICU during this shift, and the other places that nurses may be during that time. So once they figure out how many people are needed, they can begin to plan to propose to the hospital management team. Once they propose this plan, the hospital management team can decide we want to continue with this or we want to go a different route. Once they agree on either of those situations, they can announce it to the proposal. They can announce the proposal to the staff. The staff can then take advantage of mental health days, but like I said prior to, it's up to the staff if they want to use those. So 2 questions that I have asked in this slide are: what does this solution require? It requires nurses to cover shifts. It requires additional money for the nurses who have to cover shifts, and it also requires the desire to get better. Like I said in the previous slides, you have to want to get better in order to get better. You cannot force someone to want to get better. The next question I asked is, why is this a good solution to the problem? It allows the nurse to take a break at their breaking point. Notice how I put "their" in all caps? That's because not everybody's breaking point is the same. There's some people who could go days and have maybe a cup of coffee every 12 hours and be completely fine, be able to perform their job at their highest. And there's others who can go 8 hours and need a nap. And even after a nap, they cannot perform their best. So it kind of ranges between different nurses' breaking points. It is also a good solution because it decreases the percentage of nursing burnout. It increases the job performance at the healthcare setting, and it increases the nurse's mental, physical, and emotional well-being. The feasibility of this would be energy and effort into implementing the solution, increased number of staff, because you need staff to cover different nurses' shifts, mental health resources, so this could be, like on the side, you see there's some online services, but maybe the hospital management team provides, 1 counseling session per month or per week for the staff. Then a proposed solution and meeting to approve, and more flexible scheduling. So whoever is scheduling, they're going to have to be a little bit more flexible, because if a nurse comes to them and says, I need a break, they're going to have to, find someone to cover that shift. Additional money for the nurses who are covering the shifts. So my call to action: help now. Our nurses are experiencing their own pandemic, mental health. This will improve the patient's overall healthcare experience. Like I said before, if you are allowing the nurse to take a break, it will allow them to rejuvenate and kind of get back to where they can help others. Nurses will further enjoy their job, and they won't be quite as stressed out, or they won't be burnt out all the time. We need to help the mental health crisis in nursing. To the side, you can see a diagram, and it's not about nursing, but it is about um, mental health in the USA. So there was a survey done, and 41% of the people who took the survey had anxiety, 39% had symptoms of stress, 30% had depressive phase, 28% had feeling of loneliness or self-isolation, 26% had a mood swings, 23% phases of sadness, 20% for both panic attacks and struggles with self-esteem, 14% for phases of lethargia, 8% for phobias, and out of all of the people who were studied, 26% of the people experienced none of the above. So I believe that a lot of this could have to do with the pandemic that we experienced, but nurses have been experiencing mental health crisis beyond what they did before the pandemic. And then those are my references.